Have you ever spoken and felt invisible, like your words hit the air, but not the people? It's not your voice that's the problem, it's how you use it. Today, I'll show you 3 powerful ways to speak so that when you talk, people listen every single time you ever walk into a room and just feel someone's presence before they even speak, that unshakable confidence. That calm control, like the whole atmosphere shifts just because they're there. That's not an accident, that's not magic. That's intentional presence, and here's the truth most people miss. The moment you walk into any space, you're already speaking, even if you haven't said a word. People are listening before you talk. They're watching, they're judging, not always in a harsh or negative way, but in a human way. We're wired to read people. We pick up on posture, on energy, on how someone carries themselves, and whether we realize it or not, we decide, is this someone I need to pay attention to? Long before they open their mouth, so before you ever speak, your first job isn't to say the right thing. It's to be the right presence. You have to own the room, not in a loud, aggressive way, but in a grounded, steady, intentional way. That means walking in with your shoulders back, head up, eyes forward. It means not shrinking yourself, not apologizing for existing, not letting self-doubt take the lead. You don't have to be the loudest, you don't have to dominate anyone, but you do need to be clear in your posture, in your energy, that you are here, you are centered, and you are not backing down. Because when you start there, people lean in, they feel something, they sense that you're worth listening to. And look, this isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. This is about becoming someone you've always been capable of being. The version of you that doesn't play small, the version of you that knows silence isn't weakness, it's power. The version that knows being grounded isn't passive, it's what real confidence looks like. Let me give you an example. Think about someone you really respect. Could be a mentor, a speaker, a leader. When they talk, it's not just what they say that pulls you in. It's how they feel when they say it. There's no rush, there's no panic, there's this calm control. You don't feel like they're begging for your attention. They own your attention without even trying. That's presence. And that's the foundation of being someone people listen to. Now, I want you to think about the last time you were about to say something important, maybe in a meeting, maybe to a group, maybe even to a friend or family member. Did you rush into it? Did you try to prove yourself with words before you gave yourself a moment to settle? Because that pause, that breath, that stillness before you speak, that's where the power is. When you pause, when you're still, when you look someone in the eye and let your silence speak, you don't just get attention, you earn it. People lean in when they sense you're not scrambling to be heard, because it tells them you already believe you're worth hearing. And I get it, this takes practice, especially if you've grown up in environments where you've had to fight to be heard, where maybe your voice didn't feel safe, where silence felt like invisibility, not strength. But the truth is, presence is a muscle. And the more you train it, the more natural it becomes. Start with how you enter a space. Start with how you sit in a conversation. Start with your breath, your eye contact, the way you carry your body. These aren't small things, these are the things that speak before you ever open your mouth, and people are listening. Because here's what I've learned. The people who get heard the most often are the people who speak the least at first. They speak with their presence, they let others talk, they observe, they don't jump to fill the silence, because they know the silence is their ally. When you walk in like you're already enough, when you show up like you belong in that room, when you carry yourself like you don't need to prove your worth with every word, you shift the entire atmosphere. You change how people see you, and more importantly, you change how you see yourself, because speaking so everyone listens doesn't start with the words you say. It starts with who you are when you say them. Speak with your presence first, and the words will follow. People listen to presence before they ever listen to words. Most people think that to be a powerful speaker, you need to be quick with your words, sharp with your responses, always ready to fire back. But the truth is, some of the most powerful moments in any conversation come from what you don't say. It's the pause, the silence, the space between your words. That's what grabs attention. That's what makes people lean in. Because here's something we often forget. Your words need room to land, and if you're rushing through your point, if you're trying to pack in every thought, every example, every feeling all at once, then nothing really sticks. You're not giving your message space to breathe, and if your message can't breathe, your audience can't feel it. I've seen it happen time and time again. Someone is speaking, and they are saying good things, they have something valuable to share. But they never slow down, they never give their words the weight they deserve. It's like watching someone throw powerful punches in the dark. There's effort, there's energy, but it's not landing anywhere. It's not connecting. Now contrast that with someone who knows how to use silence, someone who says what they mean, and then stops, lets it settle, someone who trusts the weight of their words enough to let the pause do some of the talking. That's different, that's memorable. See, when you pause, you're not losing control of the conversation, you're taking control. You're letting the room catch up, you're allowing people to not just hear what you said, but feel it. That's the difference between a talk and a message, between hearing and listening. Think about music. It's not just a bunch of notes strung together. It's the spaces between the notes that give the music rhythm, flow, and emotion. Without the silence, it's just noise. Same with speech. Without pauses, your words become cluttered, but with pauses they become powerful. And I get it, silence can feel uncomfortable. Especially in a world that's so noisy, we're conditioned to fill every gap, to never let a second go unused. But that silence, that's the space where respect is built. It shows people you're not desperate to be heard. You're deliberate, you're grounded, you're not afraid to let your message echo for a moment. I remember working with someone who always spoke fast, not because they were nervous, but because they felt like they had to prove they were smart, that they knew what they were talking about. But the problem was, their words were running ahead of their meaning, and it came across as anxious, even though they weren't. So we worked on just pausing, at the beginning, in the middle, at the end, and when they did, everything changed. People started listening longer, they commanded more attention, they didn't even say more, they just said it better. That's the secret. You don't have to talk more to say more, you just need to learn how to let your words land. Try this the next time you speak. Say your point, and then stop. Count 2 seconds in your head. Look your audience in the eye, let the silence settle, and watch what happens. People won't tune out, they'll tune in. Because you've created a moment, you've created presence, and most of all, you've shown them that what you just said mattered. The most respected voices don't rush, they don't fill every second, they speak, they stop, and they let the room absorb. That's not hesitation, that's intention. I've been in courtrooms, boardrooms, classrooms, and every time, the most powerful communicator in the room wasn't the loudest. It was the one who spoke with calm authority, the one who didn't feel the need to rush, the one who could say something, and then let the silence do the rest. And here's the other side of it, pauses also help you. They give you time to breathe, to think, to collect your thoughts. You don't have to be afraid of losing momentum. If your words are strong, the silence just gives them space to echo. It's not dead air, it's alive with impact. When you master the pause, you show people you're in control. You're not reacting, you're responding. You're not trying to be impressive, you're trying to be clear, and clarity. That's what gets remembered. So next time you're about to speak, don't just plan what you'll say, plan where you'll stop. Where you'll breathe, where you'll let them think, because sometimes the moment they remember most is the one right after you stop talking. Your pause might be the loudest thing you ever say, you ever hear someone speak, and even if their words weren't perfect, something about it just hit you. You couldn't explain it, but you felt it in your chest, in your gut. That's not just good communication. That's emotional precision. It's the difference between people hearing you and people feeling you. And when people feel you, they listen. Now, emotional precision isn't about being overly dramatic. It's not about oversharing or trying to manipulate emotion. It's about being intentional with your tone, your timing, and the exact words you choose. It's the ability to connect with people where they are, not just where you are. It's knowing how to say something in a way that cuts through the noise and lands in the heart. Because let's be honest, people aren't always listening to respond. They're listening to feel. They are asking, do I trust this person? Do they get me? Do they actually care, or are they just talking? And when you speak with emotional precision, you answer those questions without saying them outright. You can say the same sentence two different ways, and it'll land completely different depending on how you deliver it. You could say, "I understand what you're going through," in a flat, robotic tone, and it goes nowhere. Or you could say it with stillness, with presence, with that pause, and with a voice that carries a little weight, and suddenly, the person across from you feels seen. They believe you. That's the power of choosing your words with care, not to impress, but to express. Not to sound smart, but to sound real. People are craving real. They don't need someone to talk at them. They need someone to talk to them in a way that makes them feel like, yes, this person gets it. They get me, and part of this comes from being in the moment when you speak, not just reciting a script in your head. Not rehearsing your next sentence while someone else is talking, but truly tuning in to the person or the audience in front of you. Because emotional precision comes from awareness, emotional awareness. When you know your own emotion and can recognize theirs, you can adjust how you speak so it resonates. Sometimes that means slowing down, sometimes it means softening your voice, sometimes it means raising it, not to yell, but to make sure it's heard when it counts. And sometimes it means not saying anything fancy at all, just saying what's real, like instead of saying, "I want to express my sincere gratitude for this opportunity," you say, "A thank you. This means more to me than you know." A same idea, different energy. One sounds like a speech. The other sounds like a human being. The key is knowing that your words carry energy, and the more aligned your words are with your truth, the more powerful they become. When you say something you believe in, people feel it, but when you say something just to fill space, they feel that too. You can't fake connection, you either create it, or you don't, and emotional precision is how you create it, one word, one moment, one pause at a time. I've seen people who barely raise their voice, who don't use fancy vocabulary, who don't tell long stories, but they speak with such clarity and sincerity, it moves the entire room. They know what they're saying, they mean what they're saying, and they say it like it matters because to them it does. That's what makes someone listen, not volume, not speed, not showmanship, but truth, spoken clearly, delivered intentionally. And here's something else, emotional precision doesn't just affect how you communicate, it changes how people remember you. When you speak with honesty and clarity, people don't just remember your words, they remember how you made them feel. And that feeling stays long after the words fade. So when you speak, whether it's to a crowd or to one person, ask yourself, am I just trying to say this right, or am I trying to say this real? Because real wins. Every time. It takes courage to speak this way, it takes vulnerability, it takes choosing your words not to protect yourself, but to serve the person listening. But when you do that, when you speak with emotional precision, you don't just communicate, you connect. People remember how your words made them feel, so speak with that kind of intention. Have you ever sat through a conversation, a speech, a meeting, and when it ended, you found yourself thinking, oh wait, what was the point? Maybe it started strong, maybe the person had something interesting to say, but by the end, no clear takeaway, no punch, no final push that made it stick, it just sort of faded out. That's the danger of a weak finish, because no matter how powerful your message is, if you don't end it with clarity and intention, it gets lost. And what a lot of people don't realize is this: people often remember the last thing you say more than anything else. So if you trail off, if you leave your point hanging, if you don't give them something solid to hold on to, you miss the moment. That's why how you end matters just as much as how you start, maybe even more. Think of your message like a plane. You could have the smoothest takeoff, the best in-flight experience, the clearest path through the sky, but if you don't land the thing, it doesn't matter. You've got to bring it down on purpose. You've got to leave your listener not just with information, but with a feeling, a direction, and a takeaway they can use. Ending with clarity doesn't mean just summarizing, it means owning the close, it means being bold enough to wrap your message in one tight, confident moment. And not just any moment, one that says, this is what matters, this is what you walk away with. This is what I need you to remember. So many people soften their close, they say something powerful, then they dilute it with, anyway, that's just my opinion, or well, you know, just something to think about. No, don't do that. If it's worth saying strong. You don't need to apologize for clarity. You don't need to pull back right when it counts the most, when you close a conversation, when you wrap a speech, when you end a sentence that matters, land it. Take a beat, look the person in the eye, give the final thought its own space. It could be a single line. It could be a strong question, it could be a call to action, but it has to be clear. Even in everyday conversations this matters. You could be giving feedback to a teammate, encouraging a friend, having a hard discussion with someone you care about. Whatever the situation, don't let your message just disappear at the end. If you want your words to matter, you have to finish them. Let me give you an example. Say you've just encouraged your team after a long, hard week. Instead of ending with, "All right, well, I guess that's it," what if you closed with, "Let's carry this momentum into next week. We've got what it takes." That one line, that little shift, makes all the difference. Or maybe you're speaking to a group about a cause you care about. Don't just wrap up with, "Thanks for listening." Instead, try, "Your voice matters." Use it. Don't wait for perfect conditions, just start. Suddenly, they're leaving with direction, with conviction, with purpose. That's the kind of ending that lingers. The goal is to make it easy for your message to live on, even after you've stopped talking. That only happens when you're intentional about your close, and don't think you need to come up with something poetic or dramatic. Simple is powerful, short is memorable, clear is effective. Even a quiet close can be commanding, as long as it's anchored. As long as you mean it. If you say, "You matter more than you know," and you pause, and you let that sit, that's enough. And look, confidence in your close isn't arrogance, it's leadership. It's clarity, it's doing the work for your listeners so they're not left wondering, "What now?" Instead, they walk away knowing exactly what you were trying to say and why it mattered. So whatever your message is, whether it's big or small, formal or casual, don't leave the ending to chance. Don't just drift off or throw in a few soft words to cushion the moment. Make the choice to close with strength. Because when you do that, people not only hear your words, they carry them. If you want people to remember what you say, make sure you finish with something worth remembering. So the next time you speak, whether it's on a stage, in a meeting, or one-on-one, don't just talk. Don't just hope they understand. Land it, say what matters, say it with purpose, and leave them with no doubt, because your words deserve to be remembered, so speak like they will be.